guys, welcome back to another all-new episode of Cam's Corner. This week, I'm bringing in a very special guest. You've seen him here on the show before. Please welcome Mr. Tony Hollins. Tony, thanks for coming out, man.
What's up?
Nice to see you. So, I'm back here working in Boston with Tony. We get to talk a lot each day, and Tony has some great ideas on tips to help you guys out, so I thought I'd bring him in for a couple episodes to give you guys a few tips and tricks to help improve your games. What do we got today, T?
So today I thought we'd do the half volley.
Okay.
So this kind of came up after watching the Jimmy Knott and the US 40s. There are a lot of kind of hard hitters or people that like to hit a nice firm shot up the middle of the court. And we're going to talk about how to deal with that horrible half volley when the pace picks up. And
okay, so for those of us who don't know, obviously for us it's very common terminology, half volley. Yep. What does that kind of entail, a half volley?
So the half volley is when the ball has just struck the floor, but is still rising, so it hasn't reached the peak of its bounce. So you're taking it in that uncomfortable period where it's still rising up into you.
Okay. And it's a difficult shot because not every ball is going to land perfectly short in the court and then sit up for us to hit it, right? So as Tony's talking about here, as we progress through the game and players start to be more aggressive, they're going to start to hit slightly deeper through the court, and we need this half volley swing and the ability to get this ball back to really progress our games. So break it down for me. What are we doing?
Yeah, so we're going to do a couple of drills. The most important thing here is to keep things simple, but to also be positive with this ball. Probably the most common fault, actually if I borrow your racket here.
Yep.
So we've got a ball which is kind of hitting the floor and rising up into us this way. The most common fault is to then actually be trying to lift this ball or guide this ball. You've now got a ball that's working in this direction, and you've got a racket that's working in this direction. So unless you time that absolutely perfectly in this center spot, you're just going to mishit that ball. What we're going to work on is while that ball is rising, we're going to get the path of our racket to kind of mirror that, the path of everything really, to kind of mirror this ball, so we'll hopefully kind of hit a few more out of the middle of the racket.
And what he's talking about here is, remember guys, we may have discussed a little bit of this on the normal shots, is following the path of the ball. Right? We talked about this in another episode, about not swinging across the plane of the ball, but rather swinging through the plane of the ball. And that's what Tony's talking about here, is not just thinking about what direction the ball is coming from a forward and backwards, but also from an up and down perspective. Is that ball rising? Is that ball dropping? And being able to put our strings through that line to ensure a consistent result. And what that means when he says that the likelihood of hitting it properly is, when if we look at us crossing planes of the rackets here, is that if you hit that ball early or late, when you swing across the plane, you're going to frame it into the net. And if you make perfect contact, you're going to hit an amazing shot. But 2 out of the 3 options aren't good. Whereas if we swing through the plane of the ball, even if we take it early or late, we may spray it around the court, but we're making sure that we're getting the ball on the strings every single time, right? We're creating a consistent result. All right, so we're going to take a look at a couple drills that you guys can do. Tony's going to break it down for us and show us how it's done. All right, guys, so we're back. We're going to take a look at Tony's first tip for you guys on the half volley. What do we got?
So this first drill, we're going to do kind of 2 progressions here. The first thing that we're going to look at is making sure that our body weight is actually moving through the ball. We're going to do a very kind of exaggerated version of that. So what we're going to do is I'll have Camden do a drop feed, so just dropping the ball down somewhere inside better than 3. I'm actually going to start side on, but with my feet actually quite close together. Now the idea here is after Cam has dropped the ball and the ball has bounced, I'm going to do a very exaggerated move through the ball here, making sure that everything is working in straight lines. As Cam kind of mentioned earlier, we don't want to be kind of working up and out of this ball. We want everything kind of sinking into the shot. So the line of my hips, the line of my shoulders, and the line of my racket, everything is working down through the ball in this direction to help get a nice clean contact. The first progression, I'm going to let this ball bounce and I'm just going to let it come up a little bit. This won't actually technically be a half volley. Once we get comfy with that, after 2 or 3 balls, then I'll actually try and do the same move, getting that same body weight, but taking the ball after it's hit the floor on the half volley.
Sounds good. All right, let's give it a go.
Okay.
Good. And notice how Tony's finishing low, right? Even though we're hitting our half volley, we're not lifting ourselves up. We're staying down through that shot, right? Even though we're hitting back through the line down, right? We're not necessarily swinging upwards. We're swinging downward. The ball is still going to rise because of our contact. So don't feel like you have to lift your head and pull that ball up over the court. You can stay down through that shot. All right, so what's going to come up next for us? What's our progression here?
All right, so now that we've got pretty comfy with that, now we're going to go to a fed ball. So Cam will feed me a few half volleys, which I'll take in a more kind of realistic scenario with the ball traveling towards me, still focusing on the same things, kind of getting that body weight through and keeping things quite simple.
Okay, and so what tip would you give for people, yet again, this ball is perfectly kind of set up for that half volley, so the swing's very basic, right? Yep. But when we get to this feeding one, I feel like you're going to use a lot more footwork to get into that position.
That's right.
So what's the kind of key takeaway to position yourself properly for this ball?
I think probably the number one mistake that we see, well, there are two really, is kind of not getting that initial turn, so not opening up that kind of hitting area kind of out to the side of you, and also just kind of sitting on this ball. There has to be, even if the pace picks up, you have to have some sort of move, a positive move through this shot. Right. If you're static, or even worse, if you're moving backwards through this ball, you can see naturally now the line of my hips and shoulders is coming this way, and we've created that kind of rising racket head again. Right. So even if it is a 3-inch move, I don't care what it is, you want to feel like that body weight is working from your right foot through your left foot as you're hitting this shot. Even if it's not necessarily a deep lunge, right, you want to feel that positive move through the ball. Exactly.
So what he's talking about there is being positive with our steps, right? Positive thoughts, right? Positive shots. If you make a positive step towards a ball, the likelihood of a positive result from that shot goes up, okay? And the second part of that is making sure that we keep that ball beside us, right? We can't hit this half volley if the ball's in line with our body. We've got to let it get next to us so that we have a clear path for our swing. That way we can stay down and through it. All right, let's take a look.
Let's do it.